So as we showed you the chaos that happened in the Nevada State Democratic Convention, CNN didn't show you that chaos. Here, I'm going to play the clip again. Let's actually go back and show them the ending of the convention. The video we just played in another story where Roberta Lang gavels to close the end of the convention. She, as she has done throughout the day, asks for aye votes and nay votes and then ignores them completely. Now, here's what CNN never showed you. Let's watch. That was not a Sanders supporter getting violent with the gavel. That was the Democratic Party chair in Nevada, right? Ayes, aye, no, nays, no! The ayes have it. Bam, I'm gone. Okay, so that, don't talk about that. I mean, even John Ralston, who they respect more than anyone else as a reporter in Nevada, who clearly can't stand the Bernie Sanders people, dripping with sarcasm with everything he writes about them, calls them rabble-rousers, without a cause. Even he had to concede, well, those votes were ridiculous. Obviously, the no's were louder. Obviously, right? But CNN didn't think that was an interesting story. With all the interesting videos surrounding it, no, don't talk about that. But now that the Hillary Clinton campaign has said that Bernie Sanders supporters were violent, with no evidence, they have a bunch of phone calls that no one knows who made them. By the way, again, Hillary Clinton's team has a thing called Correct the Record, where they pay people to cause trouble online. How do we know that they didn't make the calls? You don't know. You don't know, right? But you just stated as if not just a couple of people made calls to Roberta Lang, and if it is Bernie Sanders supporters, it is horrible and they should have never done that. But they do not represent all Sanders supporters, millions of people in the country, and they certainly don't represent the most liberal senator in the country who has always been for nonviolence. And anyone at CNN who's pretending to be a journalist should know that, does know that, but nonetheless, with no evidence of chair throwing that was alleged, no, hey, you know you're a TV channel, you know that, right? If you got video of it, I'd love to see it. No evidence of violence. You got wall-to-wall cops in the place. There's no video of any violence or any assaults. There's no record of any assaults. But no, we're going to accuse them of being violent anyway. Now, they've got that talking point. Now they'll go to TV. Now that it's an anti-Bernie Sanders meme and not an anti-Hillary Clinton one, okay, let's run with it. So here's Jake Tapper first.
Sanders versus Hillary Clinton and that really ugly convention in Nevada. And Anna Navarro said that Bernie Sanders has the high ground here and he needs to continue to have the high ground and condemn this violence. You and Nia Malika said, not so fast.
So it's ugly, and it was not ugly because they ignored the rules completely. It was ugly because the Bernie Sanders people complained about their rule breaking. That was the ugly part. And we just take it for a fact that there's violence, even though there's no video and no evidence of it, with a room that was filled with cops. But we're going to say it on CNN because it's not like we do news. Okay, so now they say, oh, no, maybe it's not Sanders. So let's go to Maggie Haberman here. She's a New York Times correspondent and a CNN analyst, so I'm sure she'll be unbiased and objective here. Let's see which side she's on.
I think there has been a portrayal of Sanders as sort of above politics and above the fray. A pretty adept politician of several decades, and he wields the blade very effectively, and he's gotten much better about that as time has gone on. But the questions that he's asking about Clinton and the Goldman Sachs speeches, transcripts, for instance, those are wrapped in you are too close to the banks, but those are character attacks. That is what it is.
So, okay, now we've gone from the chaos in Nevada, which they've now completely blamed on Bernie Sanders, to Bernie Sanders wields the blade. And he does character attacks. Now, wait a minute. What Bernie Sanders says is, hey, if you take millions of dollars from corporations, you might actually do something that they want. You know who agrees with that? Over 90% of Americans. Whether it's Democrats taking the money or Republicans taking the money, when they're asked in polls, do you think that money corrupts the politicians? 90% of Americans say, oh, of course it does. What do you think? They gave the millions of dollars for their health? And then you think the politicians didn't deliver for them? and they gave him money again anyway? That these banks have been giving money to the Clintons for 20, actually some of the corporations for 40 years because they didn't get a return on investment? That's not a character attack. That's saying there's something wrong with the system. And whether that system produces Republicans who are beholden to Wall Street and corporations, or Hillary Clinton who's beholden to Wall Street and donations, it is a problem. And when you point out the most obvious problem in the country, one that has animated Bernie Sanders' campaign, and by the way, animated Republicans as well, CNN has an analyst come out and tell you, oh, that's a character attack. How violent of you. Oh, you wield a blade. All right, well, okay, we've got Nia Malika Henderson who's going to speak next. So, I mean, they're going to have somebody on Sanders' side, right? I mean, aren't they always balanced on CNN? No, he said, she said, right? Nah, when it comes to Clinton and Sanders, only she said, and who gives a damn what Bernie Sanders says? So, here we go, another pro-Clinton point. Let's go.
I do think Bernie Sanders, in terms of the high ground, I think they have sometimes played the low card, taken the low road too. For instance, he accused the Clinton campaign of sort of being in a collusion with the DNC and illegally fundraising because of their joint fundraising agreement, an agreement that Sanders could have taken part in, but he decided not to. And I think his supporters sometimes do kind of traffic in conspiracy theories and this idea that somehow the DNC is rigged against them.
Okay, so let's break this down. First of all, the usual Hillary Clinton on the high road, high ground. Bernie Sanders, low road. Yeah, that's how liberals are. The ones for nonviolence, the one for saying, hey, maybe we should stick up for the middle class and the average American. Low road, low road. Okay, now let's break down what she said there at the end, which is comical. This conspiracy theory that the Democratic Party might be on Hillary Clinton's side. Well, let's take a look at the superdelegate count. These are all Democratic Party officials. Let's see whose side they're on. Oh, 524 are on Hillary Clinton's side and 40 are on Bernie Sanders' side. Conspiracy theory. I mean, are you saying those Democratic Party officials are overwhelmingly on Hillary Clinton's side? Well, the Democratic governor of Rhode Island, who is an avid Hillary Clinton supporter, closed down 2/3 of the polling places in Rhode Island. A conspiracy theory. What do you think? Politicians play politics? Conspiracy theorists. Politicians playing politics, they'd never do that. And then the thing that she actually mentioned, the 33 states that funneled money into Hillary Clinton's campaign. So, and she said, well, Bernie Sanders didn't take part. That was her excuse. So I explained the story before. I'll do it again real quick here. The DNC, along with Democratic parties in 33 states, get money from Hillary Clinton donors that have nothing to do with the states that they're giving money to. Montana, Hawaii, all these different states. They're unrelated. These are donors that have been Hillary Clinton donors throughout her whole campaign, throughout her whole career, that have no business whatsoever in Montana or Alaska, right? But they give money to those state parties, and then those state parties funnel all of it back to Hillary Clinton. You know what that is? That's money laundering, okay? Now, it's not illegal because we've legalized all the corruption in the country, right? You want to have billionaires funnel the money through Montana State Party and through the DNC and back to Hillary Clinton? Yeah, of course. Oh, it's a conspiracy theory that the DNC would be on Hillary Clinton's side. I mean, the DNC run by a former Hillary Clinton employee who tried to schedule the debates at almost the most unwatchable times on Saturday nights, Sunday nights, and did it so brazenly on Hillary Clinton's side. What a conspiracy theory. No. But the 33 state thing is proven. Well, her excuse is Bernie Sanders could have done the corruption too. He chose not to. That's your evidence as to why the Democratic Party is actually even-handed and it's a conspiracy theory against Bernie Sanders? And look at what you guys are doing. You're in the middle of a segment putting a couple of hatchets in Bernie Sanders' back based on no evidence. You don't talk about the rule breaking that actually happened in the convention at all. I mean, you are monumentally biased. But the thing is, if they're watching this, I guarantee you right now, they're so blinded that they'll be like, outrageous. This guy is a rabble-rouser. He's trying to get people to believe that the DNC, the whole time, and all of these Democratic Party officials who have raised their hand and say, I am for Hillary Clinton, are actually on Hillary Clinton's side. And to say we're biased. Outrageous. No, but you're so biased, you don't even see it. You think, well, I mean, I just got here on CNN, because I'm awesome. No, you got on CNN because you will say things that do not rock the boat. If you rock the boat, you're going to get called radical, you're going to get called a rabble-rousers, and you're going to be shown to the door. If you say, hey, the status quo was awesome, you don't say it in those words, you say it in the words you just said, and that the establishment is right, and the idea that the establishment would be in favor of the establishment is a conspiracy theory, well, that's why you're on CNN. And that's why they're very happy to have you on CNN, so they could pretend to be balanced when in fact the whole thing is, yes, the establishment is great. Now, who do you think CNN is? They are the establishment. And I'm sure that, again, the people that watch this that are on their side will be like, the idea that this gigantic corporation whose employees and lobbyists are among the top donors to Hillary Clinton, who would like their mergers approved with Comcast by the Democratic president, and who have all of this interest in front of the government, and who make billions of dollars in TV advertising during political seasons, which, by the way, is exactly the money in politics we're talking about, that CNN would be biased? Outrageous. Okay, listen, you can pretend all you want that you're all wonderful, balanced reporters on a news network, okay, but the rest of us aren't buying it. That's why your ratings are miserable. In polls, now the mainstream media is down to 6% approval rating. You all and your cocktail parties might believe each other. We don't. And the rest of the American people are on our side, not your side. And if you wanted to actually look at yourself in the mirror and figure out why, you would look at segments just like that one and go, oh, right, we were all on Hillary Clinton's side without any evidence. Oops. And guess what? Our employers loved it. They had us on again the next day to say the same thing. Young Turks.